It says rotate. You can't. Okay. Hey. I don't know if you guys could see me, but tonight's webinar is how do I pay for college? So I'm going to talk about that tonight. So let's start off. Let's see. It's already 8:02, so we're going to get started. So let me start by telling you how I run the webinar. And the first thing that I do is I go over all the basic steps. So our topic tonight is how do I pay for college? And so I'm going to go over those ways that you pay for college, and then I'm going to break down each one. So like many of you guys, you have to understand that this is probably going to be one of the second largest payments or biggest purchase you're going to make besides your home. So you have to think about this, and you can't just rely on your parents. You have to rely on yourself too. So there are many ways to pay for college, and I'm going to start out with the first one that you absolutely need to do, and your parents need to be involved, or whoever you live with. It could be your grandparent or whoever. And so you have to fill out the FAFSA form. And then another thing that you can do is you can get private loans, or, of course, in your financial aid offer from the FAFSA, you'll have federally subsidized or unsubsidized loans. Grants are another way that you can pay for college. Scholarships. Your job, you need to get a job. Maybe you could have a skill that you can make some money. One thing that you might want to do, maybe you're good at babysitting. Maybe you know how to fix cell phones. Maybe you know how to make web pages. Maybe you're good at social media. There are ways to pay for college, but you have to be creative, and you have to want this. Another thing, or another way that you can, of course, pay for college is save some money. So instead of you getting shoes or something, or clothes, maybe you ask the people, you know what, can you do me a favor? Can you just give me money instead? Or maybe you could start up a fund to fund your college. So that's another way that you can do it. So once again, there are various ways. Of course, I'm not telling you all of them, but you can pay for college. First, you have to fill out the FAFSA form. You can use loans, you can use grants, you can use scholarships, you can use your money from your jobs, and you can also use your savings. So now let me just tell you a little bit of story, because some of you might be saying to yourself, why is she talking about paying for college? Well, for me, I was going to be the first one in my family to go to college, and it was a dream of mine. So I had that will, and you have to have that will if you are going to go to college. And so my story is maybe different than most people, but it was still devastating to me in my senior year what happened to our family, in particular my dad. So I worked hard throughout high school, got good grades, was ready to go straight off to a four-year college. And during my senior year, my dad got laid off because the bases got closed, and my dad was part of the military base. And basically, all of my town's parents got laid off. So, of course, it was, do you want to go to college where you can afford it in the surrounding areas, community college, or 4-year, or, things of that nature. And I definitely wanted to go out of state. I knew my parents didn't have the money. So this is something that I believed in, and I was absolutely willing to work for it. So let me just go step by step into detail. The first thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to fill out the FAFSA form. So it's not just you filling out the FAFSA form. Your parents also have to do their part in filling that out. And so for the next school year, which is, what is the next school year? It would be 2018 and 2019 school year that you would be applying for. The FAFSA form already opened up on October 1st. So have you already completed or started the process of completing your FAFSA form? That is the first step. So it's almost like I say a pot of money. The earlier that you turn in your financial aid application or your FAFSA form, the more likelihood you are to get a better package if you are need-based. And don't think, a lot of parents like to tell their kids, And parents, if you're on here, tell your kids to get on here, because yes, you love your children, but they have to pay for college. So they need to get their act together and figure it out how they're going to pay for it. So the first step, like I stated before, you have to fill out that FAFSA form. So the opening for the 2018-2019 college or university year started already on October 1st. How many of you guys have filled out your FAFSA form if you are trying to go to college? So like I stated before, you have to have a certain kind of, you have to have a PIN or a FAFSA ID in order to fill it out, and so do your parents. So they need to sign up for that. They'll also have to have their tax returns for the year before. What happens is after you fill out the FAFSA form, it comes back with the school or colleges that you apply to. You have up to 10 places that you can put down on the form where you think you want to go or you are going to apply. It's 10 spaces. If you apply to those colleges, great. If you don't, but you need to put down, I say, you know what? Let them tell you no. Apply, put down 10 colleges that you're interested in, even if you don't know that you're necessarily going to apply to them. You don't want to come back and have to change the form later on. So what happens is when you get that financial aid package back from whatever colleges that you choose from, they look at what the family contribution is supposed to be. And so basically that family contribution is what you and your parents have to, what they think as a result of your tax forms, your parents and yours, what you should contribute to your education. And whatever is left over, if they feel that you need some money, they'll subsidize it with federal student loans. So you have the unsubsidized and subsidized student loans, as well as your parents. They can get a loan. So now you have to really, really talk to your parents. A lot of people don't like to talk about this. I know my parents don't even like to talk about this. So if your parents have bad credit, and you can't get enough student loans just on your own, and you need their parents to get a Parent Plus loan, if their credit is bad, you might have a problem. So you want to talk to your parents about that. So like I stated before, the FAFSA is absolutely crucial to you getting your financial aid package. In addition to when you get your financial aid package back from the colleges that you apply to based on your FAFSA form, sometimes there's work study. And so what that means is that you have a job and they might say, okay, we'll pay you $3,000 a semester and we're going to give you, should I have that out even Harvard for $15? I can't remember at the college level if it's like $10 or $12, but it's for a certain amount. And so what happens is they say, okay, work study, you can make up to $3,000 or $4,000. And then you go apply for basically a job on campus where there's work study, where they take work study. And that's how you get your money. Another way that you can get, and I'm not advocating that you go in debt, but again, if this is your dream, if there's a will, there's a way and you'll figure it out. Another way that you can pay for college is getting loans. But like I stated before, you want to stick with your federal loans. And the next thing you also want to do is, if that doesn't pay for everything, you can go ahead and, look at private loans. But there's other things to look at before you look at those private loans, because their interest rate on that is going to be higher, and that could be problematic. So another thing that you want to apply for are grants and scholarships. Think about the things that you always use, your parents use, churches that you go to. I'm just going to tell you right now, for grants and scholarship, there's so many grants and scholarships that a lot of people don't even apply to because they haven't asked, or they say it's too hard. Is it really hard to write an essay? Really? You want to go to college. It's really not that hard. I know in my senior year, I'm not saying I got, all of college paid for, but I got a lot of scholarships by writing to places and applying to things that, frankly, maybe 3 to 5 people only applied to. So it was, you don't know who's going to apply, so let somebody tell you no. And the likelihood is they probably won't. I either had to, of course, turn in my transcripts, maybe a recommendation letter, and also do an essay. And that didn't hurt me much. I used to, in my senior year, I actually stayed up till 3 or 4 o'clock during my first semester, almost at least 3 days a week. Applying for scholarships, and I got a lot of them. Some I had to do speeches. Some it was just like people heard that I had wanted to be a teacher, and at that time I, wanted to be a teacher. So I made sure that I let people know. So make sure you let people know what you think you want to do, so that they could be on the lookout. And that's why it's absolutely crucial too that you have relationships with adults who can look out for you. So I made sure that I went to my high school counselor, periodically, and I try to go to her at least, I'd say every 2 to 3 weeks to see what might have come across her desk. And then also they have sometimes debutante balls and things like things of that nature, where you're basically competing for scholarships, and that is another way that you can do that. Another way is maybe there is a brand that you use and you've been using it for 15 years, or your parents have been using it. Write to the company to see if they have any scholarships available for people that are going to college who have used their products. I'm trying to think of something that I used a lot. Well, back then I wasn't really healthy. I'm a vegetarian now, but back then I didn't eat any vegetables. So I was going to say, like, I go to Whole Foods all the time, and Trader Joe, no, not Trader Joe, Sprouts. So maybe that might be a place, or just think of any places that you always spend your money, and write to them or talk to them, reach out to them on social media, go up to them in person. What's the worst that somebody could tell you is, no, we don't have any money for someone to go to college? Let somebody tell you no, but just keep asking and keep doing what you need to do. Another way to pay for college is by having a job. My freshman year, my parents made sure that I didn't have to work my first semester. My second semester, I came back, like I told you all before, my dad had got laid off. I really didn't know how I was going to pay for my second semester of college. But because my parents saw that, like, I was about that life and really dedicated, my dad basically gave me his last money or severance pay to pay for my second semester. And that's how I got through my freshman year. But after my freshman year, I always had at least 2 to 3 jobs. And I went to Spelman, and it's in Atlanta. And so it was close to Buckhead, where Lenox Mall was. So I made sure that I had a job over there on the weekends. And so what I would do is I pack my schedule really tight, like Monday through Thursday or Friday. But I make sure I have all early classes so that I could work Thursday through Sunday. Another thing that I did was I made sure that I went to class early, every 15 minutes early all the time, and asked the professors, did they need help? And so that's how I got my first, not work study job. That's how I got my first research job, because I would always be early to class, 15 minutes in college. And a professor needed help doing research, historical research, and that's what I did. So I did research. I was a research assistant, and I worked at the mall. Those were my 2 jobs that I had at all times. And at one time I had a job at the mall. I was a research assistant, and I worked at some restaurant. I was basically everything in that restaurant. I was the bartender. I was the dishwasher. I was the hostess. I did any and everything. I mean, because all I said to myself was, I'm not leaving Atlanta until I get this degree. So if you're willing to work for it, if there's a will, there's a way. And I definitely want you all to know that really don't think that somebody's just going to pay necessarily your full way to college. They don't know you. Yes, you may have got good grades, but again, you haven't proven yourself yet. So it is absolutely important that when you go to college that people see you working hard. So like I stated before, I used to go to class 15 minutes early to each class, make sure I had my notes, make sure I'm not saying I did all my homework because it was a lot working at the same time, but I tried to do as much as possible and always be present in class. And let me tell you a story about how it works. So like I stated before, they won't necessarily give you money up front because you haven't even proven yourself. So you're more likely to get money in your sophomore year and on. So I think it was my sophomore year. So I think it was my sophomore year. My sophomore year, my junior year, one of those years. But at any rate, it was around 94, 95. And so I was in I think I was in some kind of office, and I was trying to get my book refund. So when you get a student loan, you get refunds sometimes if there's money left over, and I would use that refund money to buy my books because I didn't have a lot of money. So I was going up there to get my book refund, and I was talking to a friend, and I was like, yeah, I had to work till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and some lady came out, and she was just like, why are you working till 2 o'clock in the morning? And I was just like, because I don't have a lot of money and I have to pay for college, and I'm not, gonna do like shifty jobs, but that's the only jobs that are available is that, I work in a restaurant and, bartender or whatever. And so, hey Maria, how are you? And so I just she said, well, do you need money for college? And I looked at her like, I didn't say it out loud, hell yeah. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, well, I have a scholarship. Would you be interested? And I want to, say, hell yeah. But I just was like, yeah, I'd be totally interested. And she was like, well, you have to work with kids. I was like, that's no problem. So as a result of just being at a random place at the right time, Dean Spence of Spelman College, basically gave me a scholarship, and I became the first UPS scholar, or the first cohort of UPS scholars at Spelman College, and that was $15,000 right there every single school year. And again, if you work hard and you're in the right places, people watch you and they talk to other people. And like I said, they won't necessarily give you all of the money for college right away because you haven't proven yourself. And while I was at Temple University, of course, all I kept thinking, because I was paying for it myself, my parents weren't helping me. I was just like, okay, so if I go for 2 years, every year tuition goes up. I was like, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is finish that degree in 11 months. Or not 11 months, but what I'll do is I go to a whole school year to graduate school, and then I'll go double summer session so that I get through with my master's. And so that's what I did. But right when I was done with my summer session, I got a phone call, and they were like, hey, we just wanted to let you know that we have a fellowship available for you. And I kind of laughed, and I was like, oh, I'm already done with my master's. But again, like I stated before, if I had gone the regular route of just, taking 2 years instead of, loading up, then I probably it would have been a lot easier for me my second year. But I finished my master's degree in 1 year. But again, like I stated before, people watch you and they see what kind of work you do, then they give you more money. And the last story is about Harvard. Again, this is a different case because I was grown. I was a single mom. My son was about 7 years old at the time, and you never know who you're speaking to. So I was in I think it was Longfellow Hall at Harvard, and this woman came up, and she was just talking to people about what she was asking, like, what has it been like for you at Harvard? And so I was just like, it's been really good, but, I'm not like most students here. I'm a single mom. And so it really is difficult because, I'm working work study. I'm taking care of my son, going to school full time. But it feels like people who don't necessarily have those circumstances are getting financial aid or scholarships. And I'm out here busting my butt. So, I mean, I love it, but it's just really difficult for me. 2 days later, guess what showed up in my account, y'all? I think she talked to one of my professors, and that lady who was talking to me was actually the dean of the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I didn't know at the time. So like I stated, you'll never know who is in the room. Just be truthful. Always tell your truth. And like I said, after that conversation, I think she talked to one of my professors, and I always showed up 10 minutes before class, always asked the professors, do they need help? Made sure that I kept a relationship, and would go see all my professors at least every 2 weeks or every month. As a result of that conversation with the dean that I didn't even know I was speaking to, 2 days later, there was $10,000 that was put into my account. All of a sudden, I got a scholarship for $10,000. So you never know who you are talking to. If there is a will, there is a way. You just have to keep at it. And you have to sacrifice. I see one of my old students, my favorite, Robert. Well, we call him Rob. That I don't want to say his whole name like that. So, like I was saying, if there's a will, and there will be a way, but you have to be willing to work towards your dreams. And so if college is your dream, you can make it happen, but you're going to have to be crafty at paying for college. And not everyone necessarily has super high grades, but that's okay. So another way that you can do it, you have to think about all the different ways. So if you don't want to go straight off to a 4-year college, maybe another way to put a dent in the tuition is to go to community college, and then you transfer, because you'll have 2 years of college under your belt. And then it's another way for the college or university that you're transferring into to see whether or not you can do well. And you'll be like, transfer. A lot of people don't necessarily transfer all the time. I think I heard some crazy statistic that over 90% of people who go to community college do not transfer to a 4-year university. So, and then think of places that, if you want to really go to a 4-year, you might not be able to afford it. Go ahead and go to a community college and save some money and transfer in, because a lot of people don't think about that. I think I told one of the girls that I knew from Vallejo, I was talking to her about that, and unbeknownst to me, she actually went to community college and she transferred into Spelman. And a lot of people didn't even think that, high-level schools take transfer students, but they do. You just have to make sure that your grades at the community college or whatever college that you are transferring from are really good. So also, like I stated before, you should have some kind of skill there you can make money off of. I'm just learning about all this stuff, but I don't know, maybe you have a YouTube channel. The money that you make from your YouTube channel is a way that you could pay for college. The money that your parents, your friends give to you, or they want to buy you gifts, instead, have a fund. Or I guess you can do this too. You know how people do those GoFundMe. You could probably do that too. But I'd say, again, you might not necessarily get, especially if you don't have super high grades, you might not get your, a full ride to college, but you'll get some money. But again, you have to be willing to work for it. And then after your freshman year, again, if you work hard, get good grades, and, have good character, show up to class, engage, people will notice that. So, I think that is it. Are there any questions that I can answer? The questions from anyone? So again, if you have personal things about that you want to talk to me about how you can get money for college, you can also go to my Facebook business page, Education Innovations. And I have my services and fees there, and then I can help you, and they're reasonable. So, you know, the FAFSA is really a big beast for a lot of people. They don't know what to say, how to complete it, you know, and all of those things. So you're going to have to talk to your parents or whoever you live with if you're trying to go to college, because they have to fill out the FAFSA too. Basically, you're tied to your parents or whoever you're dependent on, I'd say until you're, I think it was like 23, because I remember at one point I was just like, I've been living on my own for a while. I don't understand why my parents have to keep being on the financial aid when, you know, I need to pay for this. So the only way that you can be considered independent, I think it's if you have a child, or if you are considered, you know, you're in foster care or a ward of, or in foster care, where your parents don't necessarily have to, you know, get involved with your FAFSA. So if you're considered independent, that would just be based on your taxes and what you made. But again, please apply for any college you believe that you really want to go to, and let them tell you how much money that they're going to give to you. Like, so another thing, that just because you might think your parents make a certain amount, but they haven't told you they might make under $50,000. So at some Ivy Leagues and some schools, if your family makes underneath or under $60,000 and you got in to the undergrad or the college, you'll get a full ride. So, and some of the Ivy Leagues are like that too. And please, again, don't think that you can't get into some of these high-level schools because you might not qualify. They look at the whole person. And sometimes those out-of-state colleges might be easier to get in than the state colleges because so many people from the area are applying to it. So pick schools in random places where you don't know anybody and there's not too many people that look like you. That might be another way to get money, because they're trying to have a more well-rounded, diverse community. So just think about those things. So again, the different ways to pay for college are your savings, having jobs, getting scholarships, grants, subsidized loans, or, you know, basically federal loans or private loans. But you can do it. But you have to believe that you can do it, and you have to have the will. If you're just like, I don't want to work for this, well, maybe you just might want to go to your local school, because if you're not willing to work for it, why should your parents have to pay for it? I mean, that's just how I feel. And so I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, you could go ahead and leave it in the comments below. But you guys have a great night. Okay, so how do I stop this?